Continually, the Chamber hears from existing and prospective Georgetown Township business owners and area developers that doing business with Georgetown Township officials and with township staff is difficult, unfriendly, and uncooperative. Do you agree with those complaints? And as supervisor, how would you address them?
I guess I can say for myself, personally, I don't agree with them because I have heard that and I heard rumors, but I have never in 4 years or in even 8 years had a person in business come and complain to me about something that other wasn't for their own best interest. You know, it may be a developer that is required by ordinance to put in sidewalks into a development. Well, he'd rather not put them in right away until there's a house there. But that's ordinance, and I have no right to violate that ordinance. But as I say, the complaints, I don't know where they're coming from or who they go to, but I get very, very little. Now,
Well, I know that there's many ordinances that are cumbersome to business in Georgetown, and most of them don't know what the enforceability clause is because they see selective enforcement. They see squeaky wheel gets the grease, squeaky wheel gets the ordinance enforced on them, then they can't do what they want to do when they want to do it. I guess the comment is, if they're making complaints and the business community feels the way it does, and Mr. Mohr doesn't hear the complaints and doesn't know where they're directed, whose job is that? I would contend that that's the supervisor's job if you have a manager-style government. You have a manager who's managing the day-to-day operations of the township. The supervisor is free to be a relationship builder and a problem solver. He should be removing any obstacle that a business has to do business that he can get to conform to that ordinance. And if he has to review the ordinance and take it to the board, and the board has to review the ordinance and make a change that's acceptable to the public with public support, that should be done. If a business comes into our community and they see 3 or 4 roadblocks and they have a complaint, he should know about the complaint. Supervisor's desk should be in the front of the building, and when somebody has a complaint, they should go to him. He should lead them to the person in the office that can solve the complaint. That's what an owner of the business does. I'll tell you what, if I had customers who were complaining in my business and I made a statement that I don't know who's complaining and I don't know who's solving it, my customer base would shrink in a hurry. And if you're wondering why businesses and people are dissatisfied with the local government, listen to that statement. I know there's people complaining, I don't know what they're complaining about, and I don't know who to take them to. Try and run a business that way.
What is your vision of the future of Georgetown Township, and how will you lead the development and fulfillment of that vision?
I think the vision of the township's already cast for us. We have the Grand River Greenway coming. It's going to be here in 5 to 7 years, according to Ottawa County. Mr. Mohr was on the board, Kent County Commission, or Ottawa County Commissioners, when they started that project. That was started 15 to 20 years ago. That thing is not a secret. It's going to connect Millennium Park right through, down the river, through Johnson Park, through Granville, come right through Jenison, go to Grand Valley, and go to Grand Haven. We have to embrace that. If we want to revitalize our downtown, we don't have to invest all the money ourselves. Millions of dollars has already been invested for us. When someone in the audience says to have a grand vision, he's going to have to raise your taxes, I've never said I had to raise your taxes once to have a grand vision. What I said is there's a grand vision here waiting for us. Why have we waited till now to adopt it? Why, if you go down the streets of the community or go to the businesses, does nobody know about the Grand River Greenway that's coming in 5 years that's going to connect every community from Grand Rapids to Grand Haven? We have a major interchange that came off the highway. We've now bought $1.7 million worth of property. We're getting pushback from the community on that. That blueprint was written in 2007 before any board member that was sitting up here was on the board. Dr. Mohr was a trustee, but there wasn't anybody in a current position that had anything to do with that property acquisition. The blueprint from Design Plus was done in 2007. Why didn't the community know that there was a blueprint drawn up in 2007? Property acquisition is one thing. You do that in private session. You want to do that at the right time. I understand there's a timing issue and you want to get the right price. Once that property acquisition was done, $1.7 million should have came with a plan. The plan for me is connect Myers to the property acquisition with a viable downtown business district, then tie into the trail and tie ourselves to other communities and fill those empty buildings. Empty buildings is the biggest issue in our community I paid for a poll last week to find out what are the 4 biggest issues in our community was the most important. Empty buildings, 91% of the public see empty buildings as the biggest issue in our community.
Sorry, Brett.
The board in the past is developing visions for the future. The plan that Brett referred to, we had an open house. The plan was presented there. The attendance was not very, very great. In fact, attendance at government meetings, which is understandably is not great. It's only when people have a passion or something really, really to take offense with, going regularly. And we have goals like beautification is one, and a senior center is one. Attention to a library is one. Still, our parks are ongoing. And those visions will continue and others will arise. We prioritize them and we go after them, but those are out there and they're not going to be accomplished in a year or two, and they may be changed. Right now, our primary goal with the board is a senior center, and we're working diligently on that. A lot of people wish it would go faster. After that, we will go to secondary goals unless in our goal setting session, the goals change and some will be added. But
As supervisor of our entire township and as head of the township board, how do you expect to lead, build collaboration, and motivate others if you have trouble reportedly working well with others and have been known to act unilaterally against board consensus?
I'll do the second one first and I'll get to the first one. Voting against the board, having a 1-7 or 1-6 vote is not voting against the board, it's being part of a board. It's being a open thinker, it's doing more research than the board, it's coming up with an idea that maybe groupthink didn't come up with. And when you're spending millions of dollars, you have the right as a board member to not vote with the board. Does that mean you're against the board? No. It means you're an active member of the board and you're not a groupthink person. Being an independent business person, that's the way I am. I do my research. I go into those meetings having done 5, 10, 15 hours of research on issues. I'm up in the middle of the morning. Most of you have seen my writings in the advanced. I am very well thought out when I make a decision. If I don't think the other board members are, I'll have one vote and they'll have 6. Working well with others, if by that I have to agree with everything that happens in that board and we have to come to 100% consensus to do things outside of the public will, I won't do it. Not once in our goal setting sessions have we made a priority of projects based on public opinion. They're always the board's opinion. Last week, I hired a survey of the registered voters in this township, paid for it myself. The board has never done that, by the way. Rated the top 4 issues that we have on our agenda and weighted them by weight. If I was to ask Mr. Mohr or the 6 other board members that were here tonight what the order was and the percentage of how you felt those projects should be accomplished, what do you think their answer would be? Do you think they would be correct or not? We have never done that. We have made $1 million property acquisition decisions on your behalf, and we have never polled the public to find out what your priorities are on these projects to any kind of a certainty. Senior services and empty buildings are #1 at 91%. Revitalization, 82%. Library upgrade, 75%.